Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. Great to have you with us. Puppet President Joe Biden out of the basement this week saying he's ready to debate President Trump. In fact, he said debating Trump would make his day, pal. He sounded a little like Clint Eastwood there, I thought. Maybe not as robust and interesting or as smart, but nonetheless. At least that's what the teleprompter told him to read. And here he is.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Biden's reference to debating on a Wednesday is a jab at President Trump because that is the one day a week that Trump is off from Alvin Bragg's lawfare trial in New York. Wasn't that cute and clever of this absolutely stultifying president of ours? Biden and Trump on Wednesday accepted an invitation from CNN for a debate on June 27th. Trump also accepted ABC's News' invitation to debate Biden on September 10th. Trump has called for more than just 2 debates, though, against the puppet president, saying the American people should see how impaired Joe Biden really is. And the Biden campaign also sent a letter to the Commission on Presidential Debates demanding that there be no audience at those debates. The letter reads, the debate should be conducted for the benefit of the American voters, watching on television and at home, not as entertainment for an in-person audience with raucous or disruptive partisans and donors who consume valuable debate time with noisy spectacles of approval or jeering. Biden's team seem to forget that he is the king of big dollar donors and elitists. There are going to be some sorely disappointed people if that condition holds up. Well, Rhino sellout Congressman Mike Gallagher has himself a brand new job, just as I predicted. Gallagher was the congressman from Wisconsin who refused to give up his seat before the date in which there could be a special election, subsequently giving the Dems an extra vote in the House. The Rhino has joined Microsoft-backed venture capital firm Titletown Tech as a strategic advisor. And speaking of rhinos, Mike Pence is demanding taxpayers pay out his embarrassing presidential campaign debt, according to a report from the New York Times. Pence seeking taxpayer funds in December after realizing that his campaign could no longer pay its bills. Pence has something like $1.3 million in unpaid debts from that campaign. Our guest today is Congressman Jim Jordan. He's the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, and Jordan and his committee have just referred Michael Cohen to the Justice Department for lying to Congress. And now, Congressman Jim Jordan, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, it's great to have you with us. You and Chairman Comer going after Michael Cohen for lying to Congress and referring to the Department of Justice. Tell us about that.
Well, Michael Cohen's a convicted perjurer. He lied multiple times to the United States Congress a couple sessions back. I mean, 6 times he lied to the Oversight Committee when he came and testified when the Democrats were kind of kicking off their whole effort to go after President Trump back in 2019. And of course, we had a hearing today where we had in his former lawyer, Robert Costello, and Michael Cohen has waived attorney-client privilege. And Robert Costello talked about the number of false things Michael Cohen has said up in the trial in New York, this ridiculous trial that's going on up there. So, we referred him again to the Justice Department, and we'll see what happens. I don't know that Merrick Garland is going to do much, but I think it just underscores again how crazy all these efforts are to go after President Trump. You know, it's interesting, Lou. All these cases are falling apart.
Right.
I mean, Fonnie Willis's boyfriend, Nathan Wade, goes to D.C. on the taxpayer dime, talks to the January 6th committee, to the White House, all in an effort to go after President Trump. Alvin Bragg's case up here in New York, his star witness is Michael Cohen, who everybody knows can't tell the truth. And then, of course, last week, Jack Smith, we find out the classified documents that he seized, are not in the same order as when he seized them. the physical documents don't match up with the scanned documents. Some people might call that tampering with evidence. And I actually think in this situation with Jack Smith, the irony is Jack Smith mishandled documents while he's charging President Trump with mishandling documents. You can't make this stuff up. So all these cases are falling apart because they were all ridiculous from the get-go.
It is remarkable. And as you say, the prosecutors right now look like the people who should have been prosecuted. I mean, Jack Smith, as far as I'm concerned, is nothing more than he's a lawbreaker. He's a criminal against this country for going after a president of the United States.
Yeah, we heard about from Jim Trusty, who represented President Trump in the classified documents case for a while. We heard about that today in his testimony in front of our committee about just some of the ridiculous things done by Jack Smith prosecution team, where they had one lawyer in there and they said, I can't believe you won't have your client work with us. There's a judgeship I know you're interested in. I mean, that actually, according to that actually happened. So. Right. And on it goes with these things. Here's the other interesting thing, Lou. Every one of these individuals, so Jack Smith, Merrick Garland names Jack Smith special counsel 3 days after President Trump announces he's running for office. And then Alvin Bragg said, I would never there's never going to be a situation where I will indict President Trump and call Michael Cohen as a prosecution witness. But then he changed and decided to do just that after President Trump announced that he was running for president, and Fani Willis didn't bring charges against President Trump until after he announces that he's running for president of the United States. That tells you more than anything how political this whole operation is.
Without a question. And as you point out, these prosecutors in every instance collaborating with the Biden White House, with the Biden Justice Department, whether it's Colangelo, the number 3 in justice, going up to work with Alvin Bragg, for crying out loud. It is one contemptible set of circumstances after another, all of it orchestrated by the Biden White House. Let's go to your committee now investigating the manipulated evidence by the FBI in that classified records case. Is there going to be an opportunity to hold anyone to account for it?
Well, we're going to try. I get this question a lot, Lou, and I look, I share the frustration that so many people have. No, that is fine. We're going to do everything we can possibly do as a legislative body. We can't ever indict people. That's the executive branch, but we can do oversight, and we can get the information to the American people. We can propose legislative changes. We can even hold people in contempt, which we're scheduled to do tomorrow for the Attorney General of the United States, because he won't give us information that we think we should have. So we're going to do everything, and we can use the power of the purse. Frankly, that's the power the founders envisioned that the legislative branch would have to use it and use the most. So all those weapons are there, not weapons, but those are tools that we can use to have things move in the right direction. So we're going to look at all those things.
And the investigation into Fani Willis, will there be, in that case, will there be consequence for her? Because she has just simply, she has been absolutely abusing her power as a prosecutor. The instances, the enumeration should bring whatever body is responsible for her lack of integrity, should be investigating as well.
Well, we've subpoenaed Nathan Wade. He no longer works for for this Fulton County DA. We want to know about all his communications, documents, and communications he's had with folks here in D.C., with January 6th committee, with the White House. So we want to get that information, and we will actually bring him in for an interview. So we'll pursue all that. But I think the country clearly sees that case is a mess. It's completely fallen apart because it was ridiculous from the get-go. But when you think about, we have a whistleblower who's come public in that case, saying that Fani Willis misspent federal dollars. So I think that's fallen apart on its own. But we're going to do everything we can to get the truth to the American people.
Well, and we're going to find out what else the Chairman Jordan and his committee are doing to get the truth to the American people. Right after these quick words, stay with us. We'll be right back with Chairman Jim Jordan. Stay with us.
Wellness Company and their doctors are medical professionals you can trust. And their new medical emergency kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. This medical emergency kit contains an assortment of life-saving medications, including ivermectin, Z-Pak. Rest assured, knowing that you have emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics on hand to help you and your family stay safe from whatever life throws at you next.
We're back with Chairman Jim Jordan, Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman David Weiss, we find out today, is retaliating against Hunter Biden, IRS whistleblowers, both of them, Shapley and Ziegler. That's got to make your blood boil.
Yeah, it's wrong. The whistleblower statute is clear. And when you're in the IRS and you come forward, you have to work through the Ways and Means Committee. Mr. Shapley and Mr. Ziegler did everything to the letter of the law. And of course, their testimony has stood up to cross-examination, multiple hours of cross-examination in an open hearing from the Democrats. David Weiss's story has changed multiple times. The Biden family's story has changed multiple times. The White House story has changed multiple times. But Shapley and Ziegler's hasn't. And their story hasn't changed because it's the truth. And for them to be retaliated against is just simply wrong. And this is happening with the IRS. At the same time, we get a report from the Inspector General at the Justice Department, and he talks about the retaliation against the FBI whistleblowers who came and talked to our committee about issues like the Justice Department saying that parents who show up at school board meetings need to be investigated, the memorandum from the Richmond field office of the FBI where they said if you're a pro-life Catholic, you're an extremist. So, retaliation is not supposed to take place, and we're gonna dig into this as well. They came forward, we told their story, and for them to be retaliated against is as wrong as it gets.
I think so. Whatever happened to the idea that whatever else happened in government, you had to protect whistleblowers? It looks like open season on whistleblowers in point of fact.
Yeah, because what the FBI will do, almost the first thing they do when they go after these guys is they come forward with valuable information, telling the truth, is they'll take away their security clearance. And that is the worst thing, almost the worst thing that can happen to an agent, because without your security clearance, you cannot do your job. And that's exactly what they're doing to these guys who've come forward from the FBI. Now, there's a court case with Shapley and Ziegler where the people who are supposed to be representing them are the very people they said were abusing the process and the investigation. So that's sort of a conflict of interest issue they got going, and they're concerned about what's going to move forward there. So that's a concern that's been raised from Mr. Shapley and Mr. Ziegler with the IRS and the court case that exists there.
We have just received word that President Trump will indeed debate Joe Biden. Now, this gets really interesting because Joe Biden doesn't seem like on most days that he's capable of getting across the stage or pinning together a complete sentence. But if indeed he shows any lucidity at all in that debate, that'll be, I believe, June 27th at CNN of all places. By the way, I can't even imagine why the president agreed to such nonsense. And the people who let him do it, I think I would fire them out of hand if I were being helpful. This is an outrage. But to the point, if he is lucid in that debate, does that mean that Robert Hur, the special counsel, will be able to prosecute him?
Well, look, I mean,
facetiously.
Yeah, my first reaction is, Shazam, we're going to have a debate between the candidates for president of the United States like we do every 4 years. Normally that would not be that newsworthy, but with President Biden, as you point out, all the gaffes and lack of ability to communicate in what seems like a logical fashion, that's why it's actually newsworthy, because he's going to do this. So I think President Trump will win the debates, whether it's on CNN or whatever network, because, Joe Biden's, it's tough for him to put two sentences together. Excuse me.
Sorry.
And trying to defend his record is going to be next to impossible.
I want to turn to me, a deeply troubling partnership, and that's Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray announcing a government censorship apparatus of some kind to target cyber-enabled campaigns and censor Americans in the run-up to the 2024 election. This is outrageous on its face. It's more than ignorant. This is violence against the American people, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're watching this closely too because we have the history. We know what happened in 2020 when the FBI had the laptop in their possession, and yet they allowed a statement by 51 former intel officials to say this laptop story in the New York Post has all the earmarks of a Russian information operation when they knew it wasn't. They actually knew it wasn't a Russian hack and leak operation. They knew that at the time. And yet they allowed that narrative to take hold. And because they had been pressuring big tech companies to censor certain speech, the big tech companies, I think when that narrative took hold, the big tech companies kept that story from circulating like it normally would in our on those social media platforms. So with that backdrop and that history, which I think was huge election interference because it happened literally about 20 days before the presidential election, we're watching this closely, what the FBI and the DOJ are talking about this fall. It's a concern to me, particularly when you think about all the other censorship, the pressure from government on these big tech companies to censor conservatives, not just relative to that issue, but other issues, particularly COVID, how wrong that all was.
We're talking with Chairman Jim Jordan. We'll be right back after this quick message. Stay with us.
Wellness Company and their doctors are medical professionals you can trust. And their new medical emergency kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. This medical emergency kit contains an assortment of life-saving medications, including ivermectin, Z-Pak. Rest assured, knowing that you have emergency antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics on hand to help you and your family stay safe from whatever life throws at you next.
We're back. We're talking with Congressman Jim Jordan, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. You and Chairman Comer have been shoulder to shoulder in investigating Biden corruption, and the country is all the better for it because what you brought forward in the way of evidence is absolutely persuasive to anyone who has an open mind, is reasonable, and pays attention to it. There is, though, in this rejection of subpoenas by Garland, by the Department of Justice. It's absolutely stonewalling your constitutional responsibility of oversight. How in the world there's just no way in which it seems to me that there can be a fair election if the American people don't even know the simplest of things like how fit is this man, Biden, to be president of the United States. And so many other issues that are relevant to not only the corruption, but to the conduct of this administration.
That's why we've asked for the audio tape of the interview Special Counsel Hur had with Joe Biden. We think you will hear voice patterns, inflections, tone, pauses. We think that's important for the American people to get, particularly in light of what Mr. Hur found. Remember, Joe Biden, Mr. Hur determined, met the elements of the crime. He knowingly kept classified information. He knowingly disclosed classified information. The reasons he did so, Mr. Hur spells out in his report. He said Joe Biden had motivations for not following classified procedures because he was writing a book for which he got paid $8 million. So we have motive, an $8 million motive. We have the elements of the crime, but Mr. Hur concluded that he would not recommend charges for President Biden because he was a forgetful elderly gentleman. Okay, fine. You know, we all forget things. We get that. But we're talking about the guy running for president of the United States, and you've based the case on, even though he had a motive, even though he met the elements, you've said, no, this overrides everything else. We don't recommend charges. We think we should get all the evidence, not only the interview you had with Joe Biden, but also the interview with the ghostwriter himself, Mr. Zwanitzer, the guy who wrote the book that Joe Biden got the $8 million advance. Finally, I would say this. We know the White House has altered transcripts because the White House and the Justice Department say, you've got the transcript committee, you don't need the audio tape. Well, we have caught the White House altering what's said and what actually appears in the transcript. Because if you remember a few weeks ago, Joe Biden was reading from the teleprompter, and as he's reading, he actually inserts says the word pause.
Right.
And when you get the transcript, the word pause is not in the transcript. So someone has altered what was communicated and what was in the transcript. We think we deserve this audio tape, particularly when you're talking about the American people being able to fully evaluate the two candidates for the highest office in the land.
You know, when you talk about the fitness of this president, it's germane to nearly every aspect. That is the Hur special counsel investigation, the reason that he gave him a pass. I mean, that is straightforwardly a suggestion that he's not fit. It's more than a suggestion. It's a determination. And the public has a right to know. Will you take this to the Supreme Court if they continue to stonewall you?
Well, we never take anything off the table, but we're going to go one step at a time. Right now, there's a markup scheduled for tomorrow where we will mark up the contempt resolution. And then we'll see what Speaker Johnson and Leader Scalise and the Republican conference, what we do next with that, if and when it goes to the floor. But you take this stuff one step at a time in your effort to get the truth and do the oversight the Constitution requires us to do in Congress.
Congressman Jim Jordan, Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. Thank you, sir, for everything you do for the country.
Thank you, Lou. Take care.
Thanks to Congressman Jim Jordan, as always, and thank you, everybody, for being with us. Be sure to join us here tomorrow for the Great America Show. Our guest will be economist John Lonsky. We take up the economy and all that is happening in Washington, D.C. to destroy that economy. Please join us for that. You'll be glad you did. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Truth Social at Lou Dobbs, and on Facebook and Instagram at Lou Dobbs Tonight. Thanks for being with us. God bless you, and may God bless America.